This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 52, Starting the New Year Off Right. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is January 2nd, 2014. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for episode number 52 of the Content Marketing Podcast. It is, of course, January 2nd, 2014. I want to wish everyone a very happy new year. I hope you had a great New Year's celebration, whether it was calm and quiet like we had here at Casa Parker or rowdy and raucous. I hope you had a wonderful time. And, I've got to say, after a couple of days of much needed downtime, of just kind of setting aside the work and the email and all that stuff, I was ready to hit it hard again and really start gearing up for 2014. And it really wasn't out of guilt or anything like that, but I am just so freaking excited about this new year and all the possibilities that it holds that I just couldn't set it aside any longer. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up this year that I cannot wait to share with you. So with that, I want to wish you a very happy 2014. I know it's going to be a great year for all of us. And as a friend of mine pointed out on Facebook the other day, it's going to be a lucky year because 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4 equals 7, and 7 is a lucky number. So I'll take it. I don't think we need any luck, but we will definitely take whatever we can get. Also, speaking of milestones, next week is a big episode for us. We will be celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Content Marketing Podcast. And I have to say, I cannot believe those words are coming out of my mouth because I had no idea of all that would occur when I started this podcast a little under a year ago. Anyway, over the next week, I'm going to be doing a lot of thinking about where to take the podcast for the next year. I feel like over the last 12 months, we've kind of gotten our sea legs and I've kind of gotten into a groove. But I really want to hear your feedback. I want to hear what you want to hear more of. Do you want more interviews? Do you want more series? Do you want different topics? I really feel like over the next year, we can really take things to a next level. And I want to make sure to get your input on what that next level is going to look like so that we can continue to meet your needs, answer your questions, and really produce a podcast that gives you what you really want. So if you have some ideas, please take a couple of minutes to either hit me up on social media, and you can find all those links at our website, resonancecontent.com, or you can shoot me an email, Rachel, that's Rachel, at resonancecontent.com, and get those ideas over to me. I really, really want to hear from you. Okay. A reminder, we are live on iTunes and on Stitcher, so if you're listening to this episode on the blog, you can click on over and subscribe. And if you use a different app for your podcast listening pleasure, we also have an RSS feed, and I will provide that link in the blog post. In last week's 2-for-1 podcast, we covered 2 topics that we wanted to talk about. Number 1 was the latest shenanigans over at Facebook. Yes, they are jacking around with EdgeRank again. So we talked about that. And then we also talked about how to use the holiday downtime. If this is a slow period for your business, how to use that time to really wrap up 2013 in preparation for a brand new start in this wonderful new year. And we're going to be continuing that conversation today. So if you happen to miss that episode, feel free to click on over to iTunes or to Stitcher or to the RSS feed and get all caught up. So that brings me to today's topic. We have, of course, just ushered in a shiny new year. And today we're going to talk about how to use this opportunity, this fresh start, to go back and look at your content marketing strategy and your program and make sure that you are ready for the 12 months that lie ahead. You know, at this time of year, you tend to see a lot of predictions. You see a lot of blog posts and articles and e-newsletter articles about what's going to happen in 2014 and what trends are going to be, you're going to be sure to want to watch in 2014. And I've got to say, now I have contributed to a couple of posts. A couple of bloggers have contacted me to get my predictions for the year, and I've participated in that, but I've chosen not to go that route on the Resonance Content Marketing blog or on this podcast. And, you know, the reason is it is so easy to get caught up in what this guru or that guru is saying about the trends to watch out for, what's in, what's out, what's hot and what's not, etc., etc. And it can be really fun and interesting to read these predictions or to listen to or to read these posts or to listen to these podcasts. And some of them are very good. They're very well written and they're very, very insightful and very thought provoking. But I would caution you, please don't lose sight of your mission, which is to meet the needs of your audience through quality content delivered according to their preferences. So, and I would say if you really have your finger on the pulse of your audience, you know all you need to know. So, you know, by all means, read what the gurus have to say, but be sure to take it with a grain of salt and to put it on the right shelf, and just to know that as long as you're meeting your audience's needs, you are doing exactly what you have to do. That said, I recommend you take the next couple of days not to check out what everybody else is saying about 2014, but to look at your content marketing strategy, to look at your program, and maybe to review the steps we went through way back when we did our Content Marketing 101 series. If you remember way back in January 2013, and it does seem like way back there. That's actually a good framework to kind of go through and recalibrate and to look at your program, look at what you have set up, and see if any tweaks are needed before you just hit the ground running in 2014. So I'm going to recap those steps really quickly. Again, not because we need to reinvent the wheel, but because it's really good. It's a really good program for a checkup, you know, just to look through and make sure that everything's current, everything's updated so that you can reach your goals in this bright, shiny new year we call 2014. Now, if you recall, the first step in our Content Marketing 101 series was know your audience. Everything you do has got to come down to your audience. It is not about you whatsoever. It's all about the people you're trying to reach, what their interests are, what their pain points are, and what they really need from you. So I would say go back and look at your strategy and see what it says about the people who you are trying to reach through your content. And ask yourself a few questions like, have things changed over the last 12 months? Have your demographics begun to skew older? Are they skewing younger? Have interests shifted around? Have geographics shifted around? And if you're not sure about the answers to these questions, this is a great time to do some research. Maybe put out a survey or request some feedback from your audience. If you want to do some focus groups or contact people individually, really get your finger back on the pulse of your audience. And you know, once again, I cannot stress enough that everything you do as a content marketer has got to come down to your audience. So if you're not crystal clear on what's going on with those folks, please do not pass go. Do not go to step 2. Do not collect $200. Monopoly reference there, until you figure that out. And am I dating myself with that? Do people still play Monopoly? Anyway, I think you get the idea. Step 2 is to know your content sources. Now, these are these sources, both internal and external, of that all-important content that's going to speak to your needs of your audience. And again, look at your strategy document and also look at what you've been doing over the last 12 months and just kind of ask yourself, number one, have maybe new subject matter experts come on board with your team? Are there people who need to be brought into that content marketing loop who can be contributing wonderful things to your content program? Also, when's the last time you looked around at the external sources that you're using for your content? Maybe there's a new blog or a new publication that could be fueling that content marketing machine of yours, but hasn't made it onto your radar yet. This is a great time to bring those into the fold. Also, have any of your quote-unquote tried and true resources become unuseful? Is there anything you need to drop off of that radar? And I've actually done that recently. There was a major blog that I used to turn to for some great information about social media, but ever since October, this blog has developed an unnatural obsession with Miley Cyrus. And every time I click over, they're going on about Miley Cyrus, this and that. And finally, I just dropped them from my radar because it ceased to be useful. And it wasn't worth my time and effort trying to comb through all the freaking Miley Cyrus posts to find something that's actually useful. So really look at those sources that are on your radar and look at what needs to be added and maybe look at whether some things need to be dropped because they are no longer useful. Step 3 in our Content Marketing 101 process was to choose your media. Now, we're not talking about delivery vehicles yet. We're not talking about social media or e-newsletters, things like that. We're talking about the media, the means, literally, of communicating your content. So that would be text, that would be audio, that would be video, that would also be visual, so things like infographics. And here again, look at what has changed over the last 12 months. In addition to everything else has changed, a lot of tools have been, are now available that make a lot of things easier. So for example, you might have been holding back from producing infographics because you didn't have the budget to bring on a graphic designer to create those for you. Well, do some looking around because there are some new tools on the market that are either free or very reasonable that make it really easy to create your own infographics. So it might be a good time if you have the time, and a lot of us do these days, if you have the time to research those options and see if you can add those visuals to your media mix. Also look around at your team. There might be a new team member who is an absolute ace with video. So if you've been putting off video because you didn't have the internal resources, you might want to look at that media mix again and see about reallocating, see about adding some new stuff to your bag of tricks that you might not have thought of before. Okay, now step 4 is where we get into the delivery methods. So this is where we hit the nitty-gritty of individual vehicles, and that would be your blog, articles on your website, social media, e-newsletters, white papers, ebooks, etc. And some questions to ask when we come to this step would be things like, have you been maybe getting so caught up in the day-to-day, let's say the Facebook post or the week-to-week e-newsletter or the week-to-week blog post that maybe you've been neglecting some of those long-form content projects. Maybe you haven't published an ebook in over, in way too many months, or maybe you've been thinking about doing some original research for a white paper, but that keeps getting pushed back because of the demands of the day. So it's really a good time to go back and look at those projects that you've been meaning to get on your schedule and just get them scheduled. Just make it a non-negotiable. Say, okay, here's where we're going to start. Here's our goal for finishing, and let's just do it. This is also where you're going to want to look at those 2013 results. And we talked about this last time, but really go back and get a clear picture of which delivery methods are giving you the best results. Is a specific social network that is delivering great results for you? Is it a podcast? Is it SlideShare? What is it that's delivering the best results? And you want to really maximize or optimize your use of those resources to get even better results in the year ahead. So from there, we moved on to step 5, which is where we actually built our content marketing strategy. Now, over the last few minutes, we've been looking at different pieces of that strategy documents. For example, the audience description and the media and the delivery vehicles and the resources. But you really want to make sure and give it a good read through. Read through the whole document and make sure that it's all still relevant, because a whole lot can change in 12 months. And sometimes if we don't go back and look at what we've written down, we kind of have this fuzzy idea of what it's supposed to say, what it's supposed to have, and its connection with what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. But you really want to make sure that that strategy document is not sitting on a shelf gathering dust, that it remains a living, breathing work in progress that really keeps up with the times and helps you to stay current with the needs of your audience. And of course, the final step in our Content Marketing 101 series was execute, measure, and revise. So this is, again, a great time to look at your processes and your procedures. How are you delivering that content? How are you assessing your results? What kind of analytics are you looking at? And how are you using those results to adjust your strategy as you go forward? And it's a good time to look and see, okay, are there any gaps here that need to be filled? Are there any, maybe if you started slacking off on looking at those analytics reviews every month, or are you just kind of giving them a cursory nod without really considering whether there were any trends that merited an adjustment to your strategy and to your approach? Also look at how you have those different roles assigned to your various team members. Have there been any shifts in your team? Have people left and new people come on? And do you have the right roles assigned to the right people as your team stands today? One more thing I want you to look at is how you're reporting those results up the ladder. Does the VP of Marketing, or your CMO, do these folks really understand what you're doing? Do they understand the value that you're adding to the organization? And are you keeping them updated on the things that you're doing, on the accomplishments, on the leads that you're bringing in, or the growth and influence that you're building for the organization? So something else to look at. So I've given you a lot of questions to address over the last few minutes, and this is really a great time to address them. We're starting a fresh new year. Things are, hopefully not crazy busy yet. It's going to take a couple of weeks to really kind of get into gear. So this is a really good time to look at what's going on and to address those questions and to assess and evaluate before things get crazy busy. So, as always, I hope what I've said just made sense. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up on social media or via email, and I will provide that info at the end of the podcast. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. Over the past couple of episodes, we've talked a lot about reviewing your 2013 results and looking forward to 2014. Reviewing your strategy, reviewing your tactics, reviewing your team makeup, reviewing your task allocation, etc., etc. So for today's tip, I want to talk about looking at your budget. I may have shared on this podcast that I am working with a business coach, and one thing she had me do recently is to really look through my budget for what she called money leaks. And these would be services that I'm paying for, but either not using at all or whose benefit does not equal what I'm paying for. So, and I have to say, I do keep pretty close tabs on my budgets, on the income and the output. So I thought this would be kind of a perfunctory exercise. I would just kind of go through and do it just to say that I did it. But sure enough, I did come across a couple of expenses when looked at in the light of, do I really need this, or is this really worth the outlay? And sure enough, for a couple of line items on that budget, I realized I was not getting enough out of them to merit the dollars being spent. So I encourage you to do the same, because especially in content marketing and Lord knows in social media, we are constantly being presented with new tools, new services, and this one is $5.99 a month, and this one is $50 a year, or euros or pesos or reals or whatever your currency is. And it is so easy to sign up for these things because they sound great and the cost, really isn't that much. But we do need to make sure that they're worth the outlay, that we're using these tools, using these services, and that we're getting a benefit that is equal to or greater than what we're spending on them. So, and if you are in a corporate environment, you've probably already done this with your annual budgetary review. But if not, while we're in this evaluate and revise mode, make sure to include a quick look at your budget and see if you can weed out some of those services that are really not worth the outlay, and that you can streamline and reallocate those funds to something more useful. Okay, campers, that is it for this first content marketing podcast of 2014. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I've certainly enjoyed our time together. If you like what you've heard today, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or via our RSS feed. And if you really, really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate that. For more information about content marketing, you are welcome to visit our blog at resonancecontent.com/blog, where you'll also find links to our pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and other social networks. If you'd like to email me a question to cover in an upcoming tip of the week, you can contact me anytime at rachel@resonancecontent.com. And if you'd like for me to come speak about content marketing to your business or your organization, you can find some information about my latest talk at contentmarketingspeaker.net. As always, I like to leave you with a quote, and today's is a long one from a favorite author of mine, Neil Gaiman. He says, and I quote, "I hope that in this year to come, you make mistakes. Because if you are making mistakes, then you are making new things, trying new things, learning, living, pushing yourself, changing your world. You're doing things you've never done before, and more importantly, you're doing something. So that's my wish for you and all of us, and my wish for myself. Make new mistakes. Make glorious, amazing mistakes. Make mistakes nobody's ever made before. Don't freeze, don't stop, don't worry what isn't good enough or isn't perfect. Whatever it is, art or love or family or work or life." Unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing, and we will see you again next week. Take care.